Let's talk about the final, and in some ways, possibly the most important aspect of leadership in the leadership triangle. It's also the aspect, by the way, that is almost completely unknown by people, which is kind of funny when you think about it, because almost everything that Jesus said was transformational. There was almost nothing that he talked about that I was aware of that was tactical, and even when it sounded tactical, it was transformational, such as when he told the guys to throw the nets on the other side of the boat. That sounds very tactical, but it's very transformational in its implications. Transformational issues engage us at the deepest levels of our existence, which is where, and some of the things I've already been talking about, at the deepest levels of our values, what's most important to us. And because it's at that level then, springing from that, is how I think and behave, and it affects my emotions and everything. That's what makes it transformational, by the way, in the sense that when we engage that part of a person, as they begin to change in that particular way, they will be transformed. So when Jesus says to the rich young ruler, well, if you really want to follow me, all you need to do is sell all that you have and give it to the poor and come follow me. It's majorly transformational. Why? He's engaging this man at the deepest levels of his values. And because it's at the deepest levels of his values and the behavior that would need to flow from the change at that level, there's significant loss. This is what creates the anxiety, which brings about then the pushback. So, the rich young ruler is kind of obvious. I mean, sell all that you have. I mean, he's actually putting it out there what his losses are going to be, all that you have, kind of thing. So then that's kind of obvious in that sense. Some of them are less obvious. I'm going to tell you a church story or two to give you an idea of how transformational works. A friend of mine is a pastor in the exurbs of Washington, D.C. The exurbs, I don't know if you know that term, the suburbs of the closer in, the exurbs in our area is in Virginia, this beautiful pastoral countryside, rolling hills, horse farms, been there for generations, people have lived there, that now the suburbs of Washington, because the city's been expanding, is starting to catch up to, which means that new people are moving into the area, horse farms are being built, bought up, and McMansions are being put in their place, et cetera, et cetera. My friend Tom is the minister at a small church in one of these small towns where the suburbs are starting to catch up. And what he noticed was that many new people were starting to come to his church. So he thought of that as a tactical issue. Okay, so what he did, thinking tactically, he gathers together the ushers and he says this. In fact, he showed it to me. He had written out a script. And it said something along this line, which is probably one you'd write out. And it says, hello, my name is Jim. So glad that you're here at St. Whatever. And I see that you're new. And I see you have a child too. Well, listen, first let me welcome you that you're here. And then can I show you where our nursery is for your child, and then introduce you to the church here, and here's the program that we're going to use today, and yada, yada, yada. I said, Tom, well, what's the problem? He said, well, none of the ushers are using my script. And I said, oh, are they using their own script or whatnot? He said, no. I said, what do you think the issue is, Tom? He says, I haven't a clue. Well, I says, I'll tell you what the issue is. Your ushers hate new people. He said, what? He said, they hate new people. This is a small church where everybody's known each other. They're probably intermarried. They've probably known each other for generations. They have this beautiful bucolic setting that's now being destroyed with McMansions. So now you got all these people coming in here. I don't know who you are, and you're messing up my church. I hate you being here. In fact, if you had written a script, this is what I said to him, I was sort of being kind of playful, but I said, Tom, you ought to write a script that says, hello, new member, would you please go down the street to the Baptist church because I don't want you here. In fact, it would even be better than that. Would you just move back out and burn your house down behind you when you leave? That's the script that they would more be attuned to. Because, Tom, you're treating this as tactical, and actually the issue is transformational. You have to engage them, in other words, the stakeholders, and in this case, not just the ushers, but the entire congregation. You have to engage them at the level of the competing values that they're experiencing. And what are the competing values here? Well, you got Jesus' command to be welcoming and to reach out and to bring in the lost sheep and all that kind of thing. That's trumped with a beautiful community that's tight-knit, that's been close, that now is being lost. And you've got to actually, in fact, here's what I recommend, Tom. This is what I said to him. I said, Tom, I'd recommend you sit down with the congregation and really talk through this. And say, look, folks, we're in the midst of a major transformation here. We're no longer in a small town in the middle of nowhere, Virginia. We are now being incorporated into the suburbs of Washington. Lots of strange people. Most of them aren't Virginians even, much less people that are from around here. We don't know who they are. Jesus asks us to reach out, and yet there's going to be significant losses in doing that. First of all, the loss of this tight community that we have where we've known and loved each other for all these generations. And the loss of the scenery even. I mean, you can't even look out your door anymore and you see some stupid McMansion down the street instead of this beautiful rolling hill that you used to see. So let's talk about that. And if you notice, what I'm asking Tom to do is get on the balcony, be the non-anxious presence, by the way, if they decide to blame him for all this mess that they're facing, and help them to come to terms with this issue. And if you notice, Jesus was constantly doing that. But arguably, I think he was only doing that. Constantly having people wrestle. Often it was with competing values, like the rich young ruler, between wealth accumulation and actual kingdom living kinds of things. But the transformational is constantly engaging a person at the deepest levels. Let me give you another example. We used to, in our consulting world, we used to work with one of the largest cardiovascular groups in the East. I had about 60 docs. They're all cardiologists. And they said, you know, we have these people come in to see us, and you know, they're having all these heart issues, and we do bypass and this and that, and unclog their veins and all this kind of stuff. Expert, tactical. Then they said this, but we know, given their lifestyle, that they're going to be back if they don't drop dead of a heart attack before they get back here, because their lifestyle is not changing. So tactically, we can fix them up. They weren't saying it quite this way, but transformationally, we are completely ineffective. What should we do about that? So again, if you apply a tactical solution to a solution to a problem that's basically, or certainly has a lot of transformational stuff in there, your solution is not going to work. This is what we said to docs, by the way. We said when a person comes in after you've done whatever procedure you're doing, to have them bring their family in, especially their spouse, but their kids too, and say this to them. Okay, folks, I've just had Joe here, and I fixed up his heart, and this not. Here's the bad news. He will be either dead or back here in less than 5 years if his life doesn't significantly change, and all of you all are involved in that process. So if you want, I'll help lead a little discussion right now, but this is the discussion you need to have. How can you significantly start to change your lifestyle and his lifestyle so that he can be with you for another 20 years instead of dropping dead in the next 5? Do you notice, by the way, how the transformational leader, by the way, is quite different from the expert? The expert just gives advice because he's the expert. But these cardiologists were not experts in how to change somebody's lifestyle. Most people aren't, as a matter of fact. The only thing you can do then is facilitate, be able to reframe the situation, present the competing values, and then let the stakeholders wrestle with it. You're not the expert saying, do this, do this, do this. All you're doing is presenting, you're presenting the transformational issue, if you will, the competing values. You're on, because you're not anxious, remember, and you're on the balcony. You can see how this is operating now, and you can present this to the people. Now, these issues are constantly developing. I keep a file in my computer of all the transformational issues I hear from ministers that I coach. They constantly bubble up. The trouble is that people, not just ministers, but leaders generally, tend to handle them technically. They just give advice to people. Well, why don't you lose some weight? Well, fine. Certainly, if it's me trying to lose weight, that's a bit of an issue. It isn't just stopping eating a meal every now and then. There's major transformational issues that are involved in that. And if you don't take that into account, it's going to bite you. So, what's important is realizing that in leadership, there are these three arenas. There's the tactical, which involves authority, which involves management, which involves what you're authorized to do. There's the strategic, which involves where you're going, how you see yourself getting there, and organizing yourself around the line of sight so that you get where you want to go. And then there's the transformational, which has to do with the deepest levels of a person's valuing, and where there's lots of competing values that often they're not aware of, that cause individuals personally and organizations generally to come into a great deal of difficulty.